What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode 1 of Nostalgia Mania. I am your host, the real Josh Elliott, and a little different vibe here. If you guys have followed me for a little bit, you know that I am the co-host of the wrestling podcast, the I-70 Hot Tag. We're kind of veering off into a different direction here. We're going to get nostalgic here on the podcast here in the next few weeks and hopefully months. With me is my new co-host, Derrick Stich. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Stitchamania is the tagline there. So it kind of fits in with the Nostalgia Mania moniker. So guys, this is episode 1. Wanted to start this thing here. This is about going back in time and kind of talking about the 80s, the 90s, maybe a little bit of the early 2000s, video games specifically, but we'll talk about movies, TV shows, toys, stuff like that. Anything that's going to be nostalgic to Stitch and I. So, Stitch, man, like this is your first official podcast debut, right?
It is. Very first one.
So that's kind of exciting, man. I know you've tuned in a few times for the hot tag. So this is gonna be fun, man.
Yeah. Especially considering the topic. So
Oh yeah. This is something you're probably more familiar with than I am, honestly. So I've already introduced myself. You know where to find me. I'm at the real Josh Elliott. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. I'm more frequent on some of those platforms than others. But Stitch, kind of tell us where everybody can find you.
All right. So I'm on Facebook. I'm on X or Twitter, TikTok, MySpace, Zanga. No, just kidding. But yeah, just pretty much any social medias. So yeah, it's at Stitchamania or Stitch Effin' Mania, whichever. So, but primarily just Stitchamania. So
talk about being nostalgic. You just brought up Zanga. I have not heard Zanga in a long time.
Yep.
Let's go to the chat, man. We got Hunter Dillon in the house already. Thought I'd stop by and give the new show the utmost positive blessing. Appreciate you, Hunter. Hunter is a friend of ours, Chase and I's, for the hot tag. He also is in our Fountain City Pro Discord.
Nice.
Also, man, if you want to follow Hunter Dillon, he does some video game or board games streaming, and not only that, but he does like Wheel of Fortune, Price is Right, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, all that good stuff. Sometimes he'll be interactive, and you guys can play along with him and against him, stuff like that. So, his channel's pretty fun.
Yeah, I think the last board game I played was Monopoly. I think. I don't know.
Did you finish it?
Probably not. No.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever legitimately finished a game of Monopoly.
I have a couple times.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Damn.
Oh yeah.
You're a better man than I am.
I actually like Monopoly. So
nice. Yes, game show and board game related. I do Deal or No Deal, bi-weekly basis. Yeah, Hunter, put that. If you got a link to your Discord, put it in the chat. We'll share it out.
Definitely.
So again, this is a gaming podcast. This is and not really current. We're not going to really talk about the stuff that's happening now. It's going to go back in time. Let's start off with, and we'll let you start, Stitch. Where did you start off with your gaming history? Like, how did you first? What were you first introduced to? Like, what console did you first start playing on? What were some of your favorite games growing up?
So the first console I remember playing as a kid, I'm pretty sure it was the Intellivision. And that thing, it was very old and retro looking, as it should be. The remotes or the controls were actually connected to the console. by like a winding cord, almost like an old telephone. Then it had like a rotating dial, kind of like the Apple iPods. But yeah, that was probably my very first system that I remember as a kid playing. And what's funny, up until several years ago, my dad actually still had it, and then we didn't have it anymore. So, because I actually still collect all my old systems, I still have all of them. So still have all the games. Well, mostly all the games. So I don't remember what game I played first, but definitely it was in the Intellivision. So
that's wild. I don't think I've ever played an Intellivision. I started it with I don't think I even played I did it older. I played the Atari.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what version it was, but it was regular Nintendo. The NES is where I started.
Yeah.
Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt. Those are the very first games that I remember playing as a kid. And then I was kind of hooked on Nintendo all the way up until PlayStation was released. So
yeah, dude, I think Duck Hunt as a kid was probably it could be the funnest game, but at the same time, it was the most frustrating because no matter how close you were to that screen or how far you were back, when you point the gun at it, it sometimes didn't register your shots, or man, it was frustrating.
And that damn dog just laughing at you the whole damn time.
Yep. And then you'd sit there and take turns shooting the dog. It's not like it did it.
Right?
It made you feel better.
Oh, that's great. That is great. So you kind of got a little bit of history about where we that dang dog.
That dang dog.
About where we came from gaming wise. The Intellivision was the first for Stich. Mine was NES. But we're gonna kind of jump ahead a little bit. We're gonna go to the Super Nintendo, which was probably one of my favorite games of all time. Especially anything in the 90s, pre-90s era, or pre-2000s era, and that's the Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. So what I want to do is I've got actually a quick commercial for the game before we kick things off. Let's play that, and then we'll kind of jump into it.
In the epic challenge that only the Super Nintendo Entertainment System could make possible. Across endless land and water, you search. Deep into a parallel world where light becomes dark, you search. And just when you think your search has ended, you find it's just begun. The new Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. Now you're playing with power and superpower.
Now you're playing with power.
That's
Super
it?
power.
Really? No gameplay footage? No,
I know.
Nothing.
Nope.
Man,
nope. That was the game. That was one of their very first commercials introducing the game.
Wow.
So, speaking of introducing it, sorry, I'm getting these videos lined up down below. This was early 90s when this was released. It actually was released about 4 months early in Japan. It was November of 91 was when it was released in Japan, and we got it in the States in April of 1992. And like I said before, man, this is one of my by far one of my favorite games for any system, any console. And I don't have most games how you have, memories of waking up maybe on Christmas morning and opening it up and getting it, or getting it for your birthday. Nope. I don't specifically have a memory of getting it. It was more like I just have a memory of constantly playing it. Yeah. It was a game that I always, if I was bored, I'd go to that. It was almost like a go-to game for me. And the replayability of this is, bar none. I mean, it is something that I remember you set up. I think you set up the actual Super Nintendo one night at your house. I don't know, 5-10 years ago. And you had the game, and I put it in. I sat there for a few hours and played damn near the whole game. I don't know if I ended up
Yeah.
beating it that night or not, but
Yep. And your co-host of I-70, he did too, Chase.
Chase was there too. Yeah.
You both came over and played the crap out of that game. So
yeah, it's like I said, man, it's you know, and it being single player, like I love playing multiplayer games, and you didn't really play with your friends. You know, this isn't a game you play with your friends. You play one player, or you just take turns. So it's a very fond memory of mine having this game and playing it. Do you have any? I know this is a game we talked about before. You didn't play it too terribly much, but what are your memories playing Zelda? Or Link to the Past?
Well, this wasn't actually the first Zelda I played. The first one I played was the very first one. So that one and Ocarina of Time were the two I played the most. But I did have A Link to the Past. I just remember playing it as a kid and not really knowing where to go or what to do, because I guess I just didn't really understand it all too well. So, because I was used to the beat 'em up, button masher games, and so
the Tekkens, the Mortal Kombats,
yeah, for sure, yeah. Well, yeah. Tekken wasn't till PS1 that I started playing that, but Mortal Kombat definitely. Mortal Kombat on Super and Sega. But I think probably the one moment in all of the Zelda games, that are the most iconic is probably getting the sword and your shield. Very first, especially with the very first one. You go down in the little dungeon, and the guy there, he said, "Here, take your sword and your shield," and well, that was terrible, but but you get the point, So yeah, I don't really remember playing it too much terribly, because it just wasn't. I don't know. It just wasn't in my. I had other games that I played, like Turtles in Time and Super Punch Out, and
right.
So.
And all those games, we definitely I played as well. So we'll definitely get into that at some point in time on this show.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a game that we both know a lot about. So,
well, we talked about you didn't know what to do. The kind of the concept was your Link. Obviously, your goal is to rescue Princess Zelda, and basically defeat the wizard or the Dark Wizard. You start off in your house or your cabin, whatever you want to call it, and you're getting a message in a dream, I believe it was, and basically you were off to face Ganon and defeat the Dark Wizard and rescue Zelda. In this game, you said you had to go in a dungeon to get the Master Sword. This one, you actually battled in the light world, the light and the dark world, if you remember, and you had to get and you transferred back and forth, right? And you had to get the 3 pennants from the light world to travel up into the forest. And I remember it's top left of the map. And we're never going to be experts at any of these games, so it's not like we're telling you like we're developers. So I don't remember what the name of the forest is, but that's where you go up to turn in or basically summon your 3 pennants to get that Master Sword, and then that can help you go and defeat other dungeon bosses and stuff like that. So this was in the first game, was it called the Master Sword?
Ooh, I think so. Don't quote me on it. Don't hold me to it, because I'm sure
I did some
that'll know more than we do.
Well, I did some research, and I asked the Google machine, and it basically said it's this Super Nintendo version. A Link to the Past was the first game that the Master Sword was appeared. has appeared in any game, and it has been used in almost every game since. So whatever the sword was in the first one, I don't know if it was called the Master Sword. It might have been called something a little bit different. I don't know.
I think honestly, now that I think about it, I think it was just called sword. I think it was just sword.
The sword, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Literally the sword. Yeah.
Nice. So, yeah, man, the game allowed players to, we got those multiple dungeons in the light world. And then we had 4 or 5 in the dark world. You're solving puzzles, you're working your brain, I remember, it was up in the desert area. I remember it was covered in brush, and you had to walk into that brush, and it was a maze, but you couldn't see where you were going.
Yeah.
Your guy was completely covered up, and you had to memorize. And I remember, just like we used to do back in the day with like Grand Theft Auto, or the cheat codes where you used to write them down on a pad of paper and have them in your binder or whatever. You write down the directions that you had to do. Otherwise, you'd almost have to restart the game because you'd get stuck in there and you couldn't get out.
Yeah, that was definitely something that was notorious for the first Zelda game, was how many screens to move over, and then how many screens to go up or down. So it was yeah.
And that was part of it too, man. Like, I just think the puzzles, the how you can do it, and it's open. It's kind of open world. This is one of the first open world games where like you can kind of do things. I mean, you kind of got to go in chronological order, kind of, but you don't have to do it. You can kind of jump around a little bit, and you can do this dungeon first rather than that one, or you can go get the flippers, up in the waterfall or whatever. It was one of the first open world games that I remember playing. And I think if you look at gaming magazines or gaming websites now, this game is, even with the new gen systems, it's in the top 50 all-time games of all time. So
a lot of those Switch, the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo GameCube games for Zelda are pretty high ranking as well. So, because I mean, Zelda's probably one of the number 1, if not the number 2 selling franchise in probably Nintendo. So, I mean, that's
behind Mario, it probably is.
Yeah. Because I mean, I think that's one of the main reasons why a lot of people will buy Nintendo now these days. I mean, as far as getting away from the PlayStation and the Xbox. And the funny thing is too is I remember being a kid, and even probably even when I was older as well, I referred to Link as Zelda. I always did. I always just called like, hey, I want to play Zelda. I'm Zelda or whatever. So
no, you're not the only one. I did the same thing. I did. It wasn't until quite a bit, past the prime of me playing the game that I realized, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm saving Princess Zelda. I'm not Zelda.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was the same way. Sorry, I was just checking the chat again. We've got so being one of the top games, it sold 4.6 million copies worldwide, and is one of the best-selling games on Super Nintendo. It has achieved near legendary status. And again, like I said, has ranked highly on the best video game lists of all time. So to sell that many copies as a Super Nintendo game, I mean, you're not going to see. Maybe Mario is going to beat that. Super Mario World. I don't know. I didn't look at the numbers before the show, but Mario and maybe one other might come close to that 4.6 million. So that's quite the pocket change there.
Yep.
So, is there any other? There's a couple things I remember specifically, other than the Master Sword, the flute.
Yeah.
that's an iconic memory in my head. And you go, and I remember it's in the middle of the map. You go and you have to get a shovel and you start digging to find the flute for quote unquote flute boy. I'm sure he has the name. I didn't catch that, but anyway, you get the flute, and basically when you whistle it, a bird will come and snatch you up.
Yeah.
And then you could pick where you wanted to go in the map, which made it easier to kind of travel around. And so like if you were down here in the neighborhood or the village, and you needed to get down to the swamp on the other side of the map, blow the whistle, you're almost instantaneous. So another thing was the mirror, the magic mirror. And that's if you remember, that's how you kind of went back and forth from the light world to the dark world. And this was kind of more like we talked about earlier, being puzzles. This, like, you had to strategically use the mirror to get to different spots. Like, dark world's almost like a mirror image of the light world, just a little bit, darker. There's raised platforms in the dark world that there's not in the light. And to get up to enter one of the dungeons, I remember you had to use the mirror in the light world to enter the dungeon in the dark world. You had to strategically do that in a certain spot to be able to raise yourself up on that platform to be able to enter the dungeon. So, yeah, man. Is there anything that you want to touch on before we kind of, I got one specific thing before. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off before you spoke.
Oh, no.
Do you remember Power Magazine, Nintendo Power Magazine?
Yeah, I remember the magazine. Yeah.
Did your parents ever like buy it for you, or were you a subscriber, or did you just look at it when you went to the store?
Probably looked at it at the store. I don't know. I never actually had Power Magazine when I was a kid growing up.
So imagine being, 92. That would have made me 5. It's going to show how old I am. You were a little bit older than me. You were probably 7 at that time. But imagine winning a contest in Power Magazine to get and this is way back in the day. This is in the early 90s, to get your name in a video game. And if your name, so winning this contest, there's a gentleman back then, a child named Chris Houlihan, who won a contest from Nintendo Power Magazine to get his name entered into this game, into A Link to the Past. And what it is, and I don't know if you've ever seen it. We posted it on our social media. It's a cave full of rubies, and you go up to the sign and it just says, "Hey, my name is Chris Houlihan. This is my secret room. Keep it between us." And
I think I remember actually seeing something like that.
Like, how cool is that, man? Like even now, being like 35 years old, you're like, hey, I was in one of the best, regardless of what video game it was, but you're in one of the best video games of all time.
Yep.
Like that's pretty badass.
Yeah, it is. Well, and it's kind of like, it's kind of like with the contest, and you might even be familiar with this contest. Back when Pepsi used to put out the Pepsi points. If you had however many points it was, where's my jet? They even have the documentary on it. That guy wanted his jet.
Yep.
And then had to take Pepsi to court, unfortunately, about it. So
unfortunately, yeah.
And I remember actually doing those. I remember doing those Pepsi points too. I really do, because I remember Deion Sanders being part of the commercial or the advertising for it. So, and Deion Sanders back then at the time was actually one of my favorite players. So,
yeah, he was definitely a beast, and he he was a spokesman for, I think the points there for a certain period of time. And those were the ones where you could, it was underneath the cap, right? It was and you just collected them and you could turn them in for like, for NFL hats or I remember. Yeah, I remember like if you met, it wasn't the points. It was actually the NFL challenge. I remember you could collect, like if you collected 3 of the same team or something, or 5 of the same team, they would send you a Chiefs hat or whatever team it was. They'd send you that team's hat.
Yeah. Well, you probably wouldn't get a Chiefs hat because behind, who's behind you. But
well, I mean, being in Kansas City, that's most of the time what we got was Chiefs.
Yeah, for sure.
So look who it is. CR Media is in the house.
Uh-oh, there he is. We were just talking about him too.
2 sexy bitches. You're damn right. We're getting close to the end here, man. We're just finishing up, chatting about the Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, which by the way is our inspiration for the show logo.
Yep.
So that definitely the reason why we've picked it first. So, dude, tell me you remember this. Please tell me you remember this. And I don't know if it was in the village or not, but when you have the sword, and I don't know if and you go down to this bottom part of the village, and you see the chickens.
Yeah.
And you go start hitting the chickens with the sword. And if
you
hit
also
the chickens,
attack you, right?
You get like 70 chickens flying across the screen, and they start attacking you. You tell me you remember that.
Oh yeah. I would do that all the time. Yeah. The very little that I played the game. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a chicken there. Why wouldn't you want to kill it?
Dude, that was the funniest thing. I did it every time I went to the village. It was a must do. So, oh my god. So I've already said it. Let's do it. This is gonna be off the cuff, Stich. Think about, since we're talking about Super Nintendo, what were your, and you don't have to give me the exact top 3. Give me like 3 or 5 games on Super Nintendo that you are very fond about. Like, it doesn't have to be your top 5, but just give me a couple that you played a lot and you're a big fan of.
Definitely Turtles in Time. Loved the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles growing up, and loved that game, man. And it was definitely something you played with a friend or a family member, because it was couch co-op, and because that's all I had back then. Definitely Super Punch Out, big Punch Out fan. F-Zero was definitely up there mostly because of my dad. Because my dad was a huge F-Zero fan, and he always loved racing games. Well, he still does. Still loves the racing games, and that's where I got because he was always that dad that played games with you. Maybe not catch or took you out to fishing or showed you how to work on cars. And if you were out there with the working on the cars with him, you were holding the flashlight getting yelled at, but but no, man, those 3, man, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, the Mortal Kombat 2 was definitely up there. Just seeing the fatalities was always probably the funnest part of that game. Of course, I never could do any of them. I don't think really, unless I, had the code.
You gotta refer to that notebook we talked about earlier with all the fatalities written down. Yeah, each one of them did something different.
Yeah, I'd want to do a fatality or try to do a fatality, and then I'd end up doing an uppercut or a leg trip.
Right.
But whatever, that works. I got the win. So, man, I know there's so many more. I can't. I'm just drawing a blank right now. There's so many more because I still have a lot of them, and I could, bust them out right now and play them. So.
Hey yo, Joshi Glasses, Bios Joshi Bar. I always say that wrong. It's Joe, and I'm pretty sure it's Joshi, and I don't think that's even correct. But I believe that's Kai. Appreciate you joining. Can't wait to see you in a couple weeks, man. We missed you at the last show, sir. We missed you. Hopefully we will see you on October 18th. Joshi. Yeah, Joshi.
Oh, okay.
That's Japanese wrestling promotion.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I anyway. Yeah, but for me, man, for Super Nintendo, I mean, obviously it's the Zelda, but you've got I was a fan of the Mega Man X. That was one of my favorite games. Mortal Kombat was as well, and WWF Royal Rumble. That was one of them. Super Punch Out I played a lot. I could play from start to finish. The replayability of, I talked about this game, Super Punch Out's the same thing. I could sit down nowadays and beat Super Punch Out in probably 15, 20 minutes. You're basically all the way through the game, you know?
Yep, pretty much.
You know, and that's a game I remember, and we'll get to that, but that's a game I remember, you know, getting on Christmas or getting and playing and, you know, getting stuck on the first or second guy anyway.
Yeah. Super Mario World. Mario World, definitely. Uh-oh. Josh, I might have lost you, buddy. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Josh, you're not moving and I don't hear you, buddy. I don't know if you can hear or see me, but. Oh, well, Josh left. So I'm the only one in here. What's up, guys? Sorry, guys. We're having technical difficulties here. So I'm sure Josh will be back with us in a moment. Yeah, but Super Mario World was a game I definitely played a lot of. So more so than Zelda, that's for sure. So all right. Well, I'm not sure what's going on here. Bear with us, guys. First show, trying to work out the kinks. You know, you figure with Josh, you know, being, you know, having previous, you know, podcast experience that these technical difficulties wouldn't happen. But, you know, when you're relying on the internet, you know, anything can really happen. So. But yeah, I don't know what's going on. See if I can track him down. So yeah, well, I guess this would be the time where we'd pause for a commercial break, but it's not TV, so I don't know. Yep, I think he's having difficulty. Hey, get out. I think he's having technical difficulties, so I don't know.
Well,
oh, look, there he is. He's back. Welcome back, sir.
I don't know what happened. My computer crapped out, so I had to do a quick shift.
Oh, okay.
As you can tell, I've got a blurred background. I'll fix that here in a little while, but
okay. All right.
Sorry, you said Super Mario World, and then my entire system crashed. So
that's all right. I was keeping everybody entertained.
I'm sure you were. See, normally it's Chase with the internet issues. If you can go ask Red James, he gives Chase shit all the time for crashing. It is definitely on me this time. So sorry, I'm getting this. So that pretty much I mean, honestly, unless you have something else, that kind of wraps up our talk with. And now that I've switched computers, I don't have the setup for the next stuff, but it's fine. That wraps up the Legend of Zelda. But to kind of make things fun too, toward the end of these, I want to talk about what also was released in the same year or the same month and year of these games. So we'll start off with the movie. Did you ever watch the movie Beethoven?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So that Beethoven was released in April of 1992. I had a commercial all lined up and ready and queued up. Can't play that anymore. But Beethoven, I remember watching it. Fun movie. It's got a weird, concept to it. Obviously, the dad despises the dog and tries everything he possibly can to get rid of it and throw it out in the street. And it's kind of a screwed up, story to watch, which is kind of funny because not funny, but it's weird thinking back. Like you got these, you all this stuff from like your childhood with like rose-colored glasses, or at least you remember it with rose-colored glasses, and you don't realize like some things. Like, did you ever watch Angels in the Outfield?
Oh, of course. Great movie. And you're like, okay, man, like angels come out and they help the Angels win the pennant. But like rewatching that now as an adult, and we just watched that a couple weeks ago. That's why it's fresh on my mind. Yeah, how is it?
It's fine. The movie's still good, but like the story of why the Angels. Do you remember like the kid in it? And I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, I do now.
He's a foster kid, and he all he wants is his dad to love him, and he wants to be with his dad. And his dad says, "You'll only be with me if the Angels win the pennant, because the Angels are the worst team in the MLB."
Yeah.
So he doesn't want anything to do with the kid. So the kid wishes. It's just like, man. And then at the end, they win, and he still doesn't do it. And it's just like,
yep,
that's crazy. So anyway, Beethoven. Again, the next show we will have this queued up. I will not have this snafu. The television shows actually was the Ben Stiller show. Debuted in 1992. And Barney and Friends debuted in 1992 in April of 92. Tell me, Stich Mania was a Barney watcher.
I think a little bit, yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, I think so. When I was a kid, yeah. I don't know. Now all you see now is parody videos of people making fun of Barney the dinosaur. Because yeah. So especially where they add in the Tupac song.
Yeah, I think my wife watched it. I was more of a Sesame Street watcher as a kid, but
yeah.
And
funny thing to interrupt you. Funny thing about Sesame Street, Kevin Clash. He's actually one of the puppeteers for some of the Sesame Street characters. And Kevin Clash was also a puppeteer on the Turtle movies as well.
Oh, really?
I know the first one, maybe the second one. I don't know, don't quote me on it. My information might not be, 100%, accurate, but
right.
Kevin Clash, he was a well-known puppeteer, and he played, I think it was Elmo. Honestly, if I remember, I think he played Elmo for a lot of years. a lot of years, and then I think he actually got fired from Sesame Street. So
Interesting.
But,
Interesting. So, and last but not least, guys, we're going to go over a toy, and that was I remember having this and used it almost every single year that I can from my young childhood, and that is the Super Soaker 100, the biggest water gun that I could remember, pissing off my parents who weren't in swim trunks, and I would shoot them from across the yard.
Yep.
Or I'd shoot my sister in the face for just to piss her off too. And man, that was the 50, the Super Soaker 50, and the Super Soaker 5 or 100 were top notch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
I think now, I think it's probably like Nerf guns, making your sister or your family member mad now. So
or
at least
my kids making me mad.
yeah.
We got them. They got a big kind of like a machine gun Nerf gun, kind of, where you could put a clip in with like 20 Nerfs in it.
Yeah.
And like you can just sit there and go back to back to back to back. And then they did that for like the first day. And then those Nerfs were never together again. We find them under the couch, down in the basement, in the garage. They're all over the place.
Buried in the backyard, buried in the front yard.
Yep.
In the toilet.
Oh, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. Go ahead.
My girlfriend, her son actually has a big, like, Gatling gun, Nerf gun. And it's, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's I'm sure she loves that.
Yeah, there's arrows. I think a few of them still around here somewhere.
Oh yeah.
He terrorizes his sister with them. He don't like that very much.
No, I would. Why would she? Oh man, good stuff. All right, man. Well, I think this is closing in on the end. That was The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. We will do another episode probably in 2 weeks, which will come out to be Tuesday, October 22nd. I am in Las Vegas next week for Pepsi training. Not fun. It's for Pepsi. I'm going to sit in the training room all day. All week, actually. So we will be back live on the 22nd. We will release or announce what game we're going to do. If you guys want, you guys can comment on on our posts that I'll do either probably tomorrow and see if you guys have any good recommendations. We'll do the same kind of format. Hopefully this went well, and we talked about the game. We talked about the overall perception from buyers, how many copies they sold, the gameplay, our memories, and I think this thing can evolve. Honestly, what do you?
Absolutely.
What are your feelings?
Yeah, absolutely, because it can transcend into not just video games, but just movies, toys, TV shows, so.
Think about it, man. Like if we start doing games and it's fun and everything, and then like say we have a movie that we both are pretty passionate about and we both enjoy, we could do like I'm sure you've heard some of those watch along podcasts that do either TV shows or movies. Yeah. They kind of break down we could do something like that where we say, you know what, we're gonna do, movie XYZ. And then we can start off kind of like that, where we just do a movie 1 week instead of a game. So,
yeah, absolutely.
All right.
There's so many opportunities, man, to just talk about stuff, and so.
Yep. And we're under an hour, even with my my 5-minute intermission, unplanned intermission. So
it wasn't quite 5 minutes. It seemed like it was 5 minutes.
I'm surprised I got this back up because this is my work laptop now, and I had to dig it out of my backpack, plug it in, get it turned on, and I thought I thought me ending it would have completely ended the stream, but I'm glad it stayed up.
Yeah, I was like, are we still live? Kind of one of those things, because I see the live, icon, and I'm like, okay.
Yep.
But that's all right, man. Doing it live, you're going to have mistakes, and
that's what happens, man.
That you know what? That's probably the fun part. That can be a fun part of it, just kind of see what happens.
Yep.
Like,
I remember.
What was it? Russ Limbaugh or who was it? F it. We'll do it live.
Yep. Yeah, I remember there was an interview. I think it was one of the KCXW interviews where Chase's internet completely crapped out and he could not get it back up. And it was at the very beginning of the interview. So Chase bows out, and I do 95% of this interview. And this is still fairly early on, so I'm still pretty new and I'm not as comfortable, talking like this. And so I'm sitting there, stomach's kind of tensing up, and I'm getting kind of nervous just trying to do an interview by myself. But it all worked out. It was good. And it was fun. So, well, if you don't have anything else, we will go ahead and close out here. Yeah.
It was a good show, man. Thanks everybody tuning in and watching. And, it wasn't, too an exciting show for the first show, but that's all right, man. We'll make this thing evolve. It'll get better. Yeah. So, because it didn't seem like we, covered much game, but, that's all right.
We didn't. And like I said, and just like the hot tag, we'll get the feel for it. We'll see what works, what doesn't work. And we'll see what the people are interested in. And
definitely. Yeah. Cause and that's some things too, you guys can chime in, tell us, what you'd like to see, what you think would be good ideas, just anything, kind of like the, on YouTube, the epic rap battles of history, after every, one that ended at the end of it, they'd always ask, who do you want to see next? So, chime in, let us know.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and speaking of which, thank you to Hunter Dillon, Chase Riley, Steeler Media, Kai at Joshi's Bar. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. This has been episode 1 of Nostalgia Mania. And we'll do this at the beginning of the next show. We should have probably done that, but you can watch us live on YouTube. You can also watch us live on Twitch, and I tried to go live on X, but it says you have to have a premium version, and fuck Elon Musk. I ain't doing that shit. So we ain't going live on Twitch or on X, and Facebook does the same thing. I can't go live on Facebook without hitting certain criteria. So literally we're only live now on YouTube and Twitch. And they're both at the Real Josh Elliott. We probably will switch to a podcast account probably at some point in time. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then depending on how well this goes, we will probably start uploading this to a podcast platform. So Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff. So I'll look into downloading those and get those uploaded every week, and hopefully stay up to date on those as well. So with that being said, this has been episode 1 of Nostalgia Mania. I am your host, the Real Josh Elliott. For my co-host, Derrick Stitchamania Stich. We will see you in a couple of weeks. Appreciate you tuning in. See you later.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. It's been fun.